Yeah, clock's running too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry for the delay. Evidently, the computer was too much vacation, didn't want to boot up. So anyway, we'll call this meeting to order. DeKalb County Commissioners, today's date is January 8th, 2024. So Happy New Year, everybody, and off we go to New Year, new time, new day. We're going to draw straws, see who goes first over there. You're going to relent to Larry.
Yeah. Age before beauty.
Oh,
Don't we have to be organized first?
yeah, we got to
As far
reorganize.
as
Last,
officers and that sort of thing.
yeah, last year, it looks like you had opened up nominations.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we need to appoint the officers for the county commissioners. And so we can open the floor for any nominations. Let's start with president. We have what? President, vice president, or president and secretary?
President and then the other two are both vice.
Okay, other two are both vice. Okay.
Is left over.
All right. So we open up the nominations for president.
Nominate to keep Bill as president of the board.
And any second to that?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion? Any other nominations? Hearing nothing, I'll proceed to a vote. All those, do we need to do a roll call or just all those in favor? Probably all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, it passes, and Mr. Hartman is the president for another year.
Off we go then, officially. Okay, now we'll start over.
Okay.
Larry.
I brought you two quotes for Grasshopper. This will be used for the three that we're just now taking over, Sunny Meadows, Community Corrections, and Central. We'll be taking care of all the lawn and everything for all three of those. I also, in this quote, there is a snow plow in it for just, it's just for sidewalk stuff. And I did some figuring. Right now, we're at almost $20,000 is what it's costing us to do the yards for those three.
I was going to ask what it cost us last year.
That's what I was trying to calculate.
Yeah. it's $26.60 a month is what it figures up to be.
How much?
$26.60.
Well, that's over 20,000. That's almost
Well, that's just for the mowing part of it.
right. You said 2660 a month, right?
Yeah.
And 20,000 a year is what you said.
Yeah, just for
You don't mow
mowing.
in the winter.
Oh, that yeah. It's not contra. It's not including snow removal.
Yeah,
then,
that's
too.
just-
Okay,
yeah,
I
it's
thought
just-
I thought that included snow removal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's just for the
I see.
months that you'd be mowing. Yeah.
Snow removal hasn't been much of anything.
No.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah, I didn't know if we.
This week might be different. And I prefer the Grasshopper because it's universal for using the snow plow. I can go from snow plow to mowing very easy. That's what we use here. That's what we use out at the airport. They're just a really good commercial unit for what, yeah. And what I would like to try to do is get the one we have here and this one here and get them on a rotation, so we don't get a bunch of hours on it. We get more money for the
Trade-in.
trade-in. And I realized, starting off, we knew that this was gonna be getting everything set up to take care of those three buildings was gonna be a, yeah.
Okay,
So we would take over the mowing ourselves. Who would mow?
Well, it may be all three of us together.
Okay.
We don't know that yet because we haven't done it. You know what I mean? And it might be where Rick and Evan do it, Or I don't know yet. We'll have to work out those details.
Well, and I'm sure that's going to rotate on whatever's happening on a particular day. Who
Yeah.
has to be where. If you have
Yeah.
other obligations, obviously
Yeah.
you're not going to be mowing.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that's kind of
yeah,
play it by ear.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have one preference as far as dealer over the other one?
The one on the top is, which is Van Gorder's, which is, they were bought out. I would probably prefer them since they're so close. They're right there in the villa. And the price, both of them were, the price was like right there in the ballpark of being,
Yeah. $22 difference?
Yeah.
Something like that. Not a little more than that.
and that's our government rate, what that pricing is.
Okay. I think,
1,000 retail, huh?
That's hard to believe, isn't it?
The diesel,
Yes.
torque out of that diesel.
Yeah. That really is nice when, for two different reasons, for plowing snow,
I would think.
you got the, what you need, and also, fuel can, I mean,
Fill it every 3
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
And you'll be able to mow about 45 mile an hour, right?
okay. Entertain a motion. Go one way or the other on this. I guess it's just between the dealers, two dealers. Appreciate you got two quotes on it.
Well, I thought, being that price, I figured I should probably get,
Yeah.
yeah.
Doesn't hurt. I'd move to approve the quote from Weaver Outdoor LLC in Avila for $23,877.70.
Second?
I'll second.
There, motion and second on the floor. Are there any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
There is one other thing that I'll need to purchase for this, and will be a trailer. And I believe, doesn't the surveyors get it from that trailer place, Metzger's or
Mertz?
Matters? Maybe that's what it is. yeah.
Mertz?
Isn't that where they get their trailers from?
I don't remember, to tell you the truth. How big a trailer are we talking?
Just big enough to haul that grasshopper from one,
Oh, okay.
nothing big. Just big enough to haul it.
Check with Ben Parker. He's got lots of ends on trailers.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
There's that trailer factory too down by Markle,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Up,
Sure,
I-69 trailer or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess Mertz is still in business. I mean,
I believe
I bought
so.
a trailer from Mertz years ago, and, good trailer. So, yeah, just,
I'll try to get two quotes on that if I,
okay.
but I figured the way things are as far as getting stuff, I better get this ordered because,
Yeah. You might get it in time to mow grass.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else while I'm here?
No, sir. I don't think so.
Okay,
Things are looking good, appreciate it.
great, thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right, Dottie, you're off and
Okay,
running.
so we go from mowing to recruiting and fun stuff. First of all, I want to tell you, we had a really good department heads meeting last week. The one part that I'd like to point out is there was discussion about the health plan, which one of the conversations was about our prescriptions, and all of a sudden there was all kinds of ideas thrown out, which added to a handout or something that I was putting into the works. However, that really pushed me to get that finished, and so ideas to assist individuals when it comes to their prescriptions. Of course, not all prescriptions are covered by our health plan. And that list is, set by the health insurance, by the provider. And so there are a lot of discounts that are out there. There are assistance programs. There are things that employees can ask their doctor, would you substitute a generic? Just some tips that I put together, and it's on our intranet site to try to help them cut their costs. And something so simple as letting the pharmacist know, wow, that's just too much. I can't afford that. What can you suggest? You have to start a discussion. So there were a couple ideas. Somebody purchases their meds through Amazon. Somebody else has been using Mark Cuban's new plan, Cost Plus, and so I added those to my list of tips and tricks. So if you get a chance, take a look at that. After the meeting, a couple of our department heads had some personal issues with the health plan that they wanted. I had mentioned that, our handholder through Surest and United Healthcare was available to help with some problems if an employee is having some issues with a claim. And so I passed those on to him and to Apex. So Apex is always in the mix when it comes to any of our issues that we're having, so that, they're not blindsided with we've had this, and this. Now, they're fully aware of, the concerns that we've had, so that if we need to make some changes going down the road, they can help us with those. Speaking of Apex, I have a conference call with them on Thursday regarding getting into the wellness portion of this health plan, and kind of tag teaming that with the room that has been used as a gym off of the Development Services office, and what would happen if we offered a gym membership to employees. So I don't have any information on that, how that would fit into our wellness plan, what kind of if that would be a taxable benefit, things like that. But Apex and I are going to be talking about that on Thursday. So when it comes to this gym membership idea, you guys have all the information that I have been able to scrounge up already with regard to pricing. And just last week, we were informed unofficially that the Y will be increasing their prices. Now, we're locked in until May, but the prices will be going up a couple dollars a month for each membership. And we always like to give our employees who are currently with that membership the opportunity that they can keep it or they can cancel. And the Y is very good about allowing cancellations at any time. It's not like you have to stay for a year. So other than that, when it comes to the gym conversation, I don't have anything else to give you yet. I think it's a good idea that if we decide to offer that as a perk, that, I know initially it was thought, well, since the room has been used by the sheriff's office, that would be offered to the sheriff's department, but perhaps we need to look at it a little more globally across the board for all employees. So anyway, more information to come down the road.
Okay.
Okay? I've had a great conversation with Andrew regarding our drug program, and I should say anti-drug, illegal drugs, whatever. We have three different things to be concerned with. Our work comp Historically, we have had employees after an incident, when they go to the clinic, they are drug tested, and needing to tighten that program up a little bit, at least when it comes to documentation. And we don't have to worry about our highway department with their DOTs. The feds take care of all of that, and Ben's really good about getting that. And historically, government employees have not been randomly drug tested, not like in the private sector, due to probably the Fourth Amendment issues that there are with regard to illegal seizures, and it just gets into kind of a sticky mess. So historically, that hasn't happened, so we don't really have to worry about that. But working on making some changes, perhaps, to the mentions in our employee handbook, which, of course, I will pass on to you guys, but working through that with Andrew was great. I am really pleased with the work that the HR assistant has done with regard to our Affordable Care Act reporting. Susan had historically done it for several years when she was the first deputy. However, coming on board as the auditor, she needed to pass something off of her plate, and HR was the appropriate department to give that to. However, a little glitch happened when we went with being self-insured. It changed a bit of our reporting. So half of our report is a fully insured report. The other half will be a self-insured. Lindsay had to go back into people's files, how many members, how many dependents are on a member's, their record, who's on the plan, just a wide variety of things. Big spreadsheet. Working with Lau. A lot, making sure that we had all the information, all the documents that we needed to provide it to the federal government and to our employees. Because if you will notice, when you get your W-2s, there's also a 1095 that explains that, yes, you were offered health insurance, or else you have health insurance for X number of months and things like that. So anyway, a real shout out to her for, that was a bear of a project. And all of the information we try to have out by the end of January, even though the federal government says we don't have to do it until March, but it's just better to get it done sooner the better. So great. Speaking of sooner the better, I'm working on, I'm crunching numbers on our turnover rate for 2023. And so I've had some assistance through Lau, trying to find just the right report. I'm trying to get them to, I cannot be the only HR person. We are not the only entity who looks at turnover, and why isn't there a report on Lau that you can, boom, they download all the information. All the information is right there. All they'd have to do is write a report. And so it seems simple enough to me, and that other entities would be able to use that. So I do have to do some old-fashioned crunching numbers on a calculator. So anyway, but soon, hopefully by the end of the month, I'll be able to give you a good idea of what our turnover rate was, and we could probably even take a look at the different departments. We had some departments that are outliers, where Sunny Meadows, just a really tough one, all that out there. So anyway, working on that. The council has me working with the Job Classification Subcommittee on an RFQ for a benefits and wage review. And so that we are, the Job Classification Subcommittee has met, and I put together a draft, and we're still drafting. So We're still drafting. There's a lot of information that I think that they want to take a look at, and going forward, making sure that our wages are competitive and that we're able to recruit, hire, retain good employees with our wages and our benefits. So that's why they wanted to add in the benefits to compare and contrast with either other counties, other municipalities, other employers in the area, who take our employees. Where do we lose people? We don't generally lose people to another county. We generally lose them to another private employer. So that's who we're up against. People who have started, today, our information systems intern started today, and last week we had a new probation officer assistant started, a clerical person started also. The RN for the health department starts today. The extension office, their full-time clerk position, that person started before the previous person left us, retired, so there was a bit of a great overlap there. Development Services Clerk, Secretary to the BZA and Planning Zoning started, and so we have high hopes there. Sunny Meadows is currently fully staffed. I know, yay, yay, yay. And to top it off, you and council approved 2 more positions for her. And so Angela and I have yet to get together to discuss how she wants to get those filled and the hours and the best staffing, so that she's covered. That's the big thing. When you only have 1 or 2 people on a shift, and somebody wants to go on vacation or somebody's on FMLA and you're down to nobody on a shift, and which is why council graciously gave her that stipend, because she was putting in a lot of hours covering a lot of empty shifts. And so hopefully we have that fixed. When it comes to recruiting, Central Communications has 1 currently in training, and so we are actively recruiting for a dispatcher. That's been out. Confinement officers, we need probably 2, so that posting is out and about. We have that grant-funded probation officer position that we are actively recruiting for. And the program facilitator, part-time, out at the Change Academy, tendered her resignation. I'll be all right. And so we are looking for somebody to fill that spot. And code compliance officer, part-time. We do have some resumes in. We've had some inquiries, and so it passes on to Chris. That posting is still up for another probably week. And CDL drivers, we had 2 start last week, and unfortunately 1 quit. It had to do with the fact that the office will be moving to Waterloo, and the person said that would add 100 miles to his commute weekly, and he just didn't think that would be worth it. So at least he only worked 3 hours and made that determination, and much better to know now than later. Yeah. So anyway, I think that is kind of the down and dirty of what I have going on. So anybody have anything for me?
Anything, Todd or Mike?
Do not.
I did talk to Michelle about the Change Academy, and she's got a lot of resumes.
Yes.
Some good ones. I think she's got some interviews this week, Wednesday. There could be some good possibilities over there.
Yeah.
So that's good as far as Ben and the CDLs.
I know.
I mean, 3 hours good for.
I know.
And he quit for what? 4 more miles?
Yeah.
8 miles a day.
Trying to figure out how that calculates to 100 miles a week, but
Yeah, and
I was trying to
Why-
figure
Well,
that out.
Why is
yeah,
that a
where
deal?
the person lives, I guess Auburn was okay, but Waterloo was not.
he's down by Woodburn, but he could come up one and pop right in there.
So,
up to him.
yeah,
I don't think he wanted the job really that bad.
to each their own. So, yep, like I said, better to know now. Speaking of community corrections, they are, not actively, we closed out that posting for a residential facilitator. So they should be, I would think, in interviews soon for one. I think one is it. So we're doing really well overall. I think we finished the year strong, and I think we're starting really on a positive note
Yeah.
when it comes to recruiting.
And hopefully we can get highway filled up by the time spring work comes about and the moving. That would help too with the move. So hopefully that, something materializes there.
That's right. You know, the right people will answer our call.
Yep. It'll happen.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Dottie.
You're welcome.
Chris, you're up.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Morning, Chris.
Morning.
That's what you get.
Well, that was,
Hey, back.
yeah, someone telling me to be quiet. How are y'all?
We're good.
Forget to hit your mic there.
Thank you.
There you are.
Susan, and Andrew, there's a copy there for you guys as well.
Okay.
So I have the interlocal agreement between us and the city of Auburn for their extraterritorial jurisdiction. Since this was due to be looked at this year anyway, but with having Kelly Nauer as the administrator over there and James as the zoning administrator, there were just some things that they felt needed to be cleaned up, updated. When Amy Schweitzer, Amber Bassett, and myself worked on this, just getting a new set of eyes on it. Just some quick updates. I highlighted those in yellow and then have the clean copy for signatures today. Page 1 is just updating the interlocal agreement document number information should this pass. Page 2, there was a requirement in there restricting the residential uses or single-family homes to be built in 75 feet from the flood fringe, which doesn't really make sense. That means you're adding an additional buffer of 75 feet from a floodway to not allow single-family homes, which we don't have that in any of our ordinances, in our zoning ordinances now. So having that as a requirement in the interlocal agreement just was something that was probably overlooked and just didn't make sense then either. So we are proposing to strike that and then add to number 2, restrict all building in the flood fringe, and then adding unless the structure meets or exceeds the local flood control ordinance and a permit is issued. So they would have to meet our floodplain ordinance. And if they meet that, they shouldn't have to have an additional standard, especially putting it in the interlocal agreement wouldn't make sense.
So is 2 point, am I reading right that 2.5 is involving the city's zoning ordinances and not the county's?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
And the only other.
But we require, but having them have an additional 75 feet just didn't.
Doesn't make sense, and that's not gonna change anything. The only thing that comes to my mind is the Maumee Valley flood control rules that came in years ago, and, but that's already in the Auburn City zoning ordinance.
Right, and we all have our own flood control ordinance that the state requires us to have.
I just wanted to make sure like the 75 feet wasn't in some Maumee Valley regulation that came in,
If it is,
10,
it's
20
not in
years
our
ago.
ordinance, so.
Okay, all right.
But I don't believe so.
Yep, okay.
Nothing changed on page 3 or page 4. Page 5, we just wanted to have in here enforcement that for any enforcement in the ETJ area, that they will enforce their zoning ordinance in the ETJ, but that it doesn't require them to enforce our public nuisance ordinance that we have. So just kind of a cleanup there. There was questions on a property, I can't think of the address off the top of my head. They've been dealing with it for a while. And I said, well, that doesn't sound like a zoning ordinance. It sounds like our public nuisance ordinance. And so we wanted to make sure that that was clear in there, that they're not going to enforce our public nuisance ordinance, that we would enforce that.
That makes sense to me, Chris.
Yeah. On page 6, we just wanted to add in there that when a development proposal or application, just so that we're clear that a proposal would include an application, it doesn't just include something general. Page 7, this is going to help clean up some confusion when, especially, we have a 300-foot buffer that surrounds the city limits. And sometimes that straddles, it's an imaginary line that straddles a property. So a property could be cut in half, cut in 3/4, cut in 1/4. And so what we're stating there is that if the property does straddle that imaginary line, that the property will be included in the extraterritorial jurisdiction in the city of Auburn, and the GIS map will be adjusted to reflect such change. Right now, we have it as that it's, the GIS mapping is there. If a property is 20 acres and 10 acres is in the ETJ and 30 acres is not, you have to do the calculation, and it's just a bunch of, it just helps clean it up, I guess, so people will know what zoning they're in. People are like, well, I'm in the ETJ and I'm in your A2, or,
Yeah.
and they just get confused. I think this will help clean up that language. And it will require our GIS map to change if that's the case. Now, it doesn't mean they automatically get put in the ETJ if they're at 10 acres or whatever. They have to meet one of those two items, that the owner has submitted a full or complete application to improve the property and has paid the application fee, and the proposed structure, not the lot, is fully within the city's jurisdiction, or the property owner has submitted a full and complete application to improve the property and has paid the application fee, and 50% or more of the lot is fully within the city's jurisdiction. So it doesn't automatically just happen. There has to be an application, and if the structure is fully within the ETJ, then the whole property becomes. Or if 50% or more of the lot is in the ETJ and they've submitted a complete application, then the full property is in. So it doesn't just automatically go into it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like it.
And that is all the changes we made. We were hoping to have this thing become effective on January 16th. It's going to City Council next week, I believe. They had just had their first meeting, so I think their next meeting is next Monday.
Tuesday.
Sorry?
It's the first and third Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
16th.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
So this just needs a vote from you guys. There's nothing in here for fees or anything like that, so it doesn't have to go through any 3 readings that I'm aware of. But if you guys are okay with it.
What happens if we don't okay it today?
When's your next meeting?
2 weeks. So I'd be past the cities.
January 16th? No.
That's not the current calendar.
Oh, that's not the current calendar.
No,
It would be the 22nd.
yeah. Would you put
We
us
would just have
past?
to move that effective date, I guess.
City go ahead and do their public meeting? City go ahead and do their public meeting on the 16th. It's advertised.
They plan on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's advertised.
There's some reason we wouldn't want to move on this today. There's nothing controversial there.
I didn't say there was. It
Well,
just
no,
would
I'm
be
asking a
nice to
question, Bill.
have read through it in its entirety.
And what's already here is what's already in place, just the changes.
Just the yellow lines are changed.
worked with them on this? Was the board in on this too, or was this just you working?
The board.
Was there any board involved in
The
this?
Plan Commission,
Yeah.
sorry, I could
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
mention that,
Yeah.
with unanimous recommendation at our December 20th meeting.
Yeah.
Is unanimous?
And the Auburn Plan Commission as well.
Yeah, and the Auburn Plan Commission looked at
Passed
this
it
as well.
unanimously.
I don't have any problem with it, since it's already in force and the changes appear to be just to clean up the language. I like how you determined if the property shall be in or not. Yeah,
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
make a motion to approve the interlocal cooperation agreement between DeKalb County and the city of Auburn.
A motion and second on the floor. Are there any additional comments from the public or the commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion opposed, same. Motion carries.
Do we have a new calendar, Susan?
Yeah, I just sent them up.
I don't have my phone on me to see what date is January 17th?
17th
Yeah,
is a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
okay.
Do you want them to sign one of these copies, or you have a clean one?
I have a clean one that our Plan
Perfect.
Commission president signed.
Perfect, perfect.
That's okay. Andrew, if you don't mind, just something quick for Andrew. Stephen Moore called me and has moved out.
Oh, thank goodness.
So
Okay. Are we, and
Larry's-
we're sure of that, we think? Or
well,
we may need
he
to
told
check
me
that.
I do need
Yeah.
to go. I am going to go and put the locks on the house.
Yeah, you might as well do that today since it's the
Yeah.
day.
And he did say that he needs to get an air compressor and a truck that is on axles
In the yard or something?
in the yard. He still
Okay.
needs to get that out. And I said, you can have a couple more days to get that out, but it does need to get out.
Yeah. And is the air compressor in the house or out?
In the garage,
Okay,
in that shed garage thing.
okay. Is that attached to the home? Okay, then I think we're okay. If everything's out of the home, that's the key
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
What's
Okay.
this for, Chris? I'm sorry, I was.
Yeah, so we've been in court with Brian and Laura Lawhead for, this is 3 years
Started before I
now.
became Plan Commission attorney.
This is
so-
going on 3 years now. They split, they brought in a mobile home
Sorry, Susan.
on the property.
Already had too many homes. They already had 2 homes on a property that was only allowed to have one home.
Allowed for one.
Then they brought a second home in, a mobile home.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so we
okay.
required them to split off it's on County Road 7 and County Road, out there by the gravel pit, by,
Hickson's? Or no?
yes. Sorry, thank you. It's Hickson's. And the log cabin's been split off. The court ordered that the log cabin be split off legally, which it did. And now we've been fighting them to get the mobile home removed because it was put there illegally. And in the meantime, Brian passed.
And there was
Then-
also a bunch of equipment and junk out there that I think fit a public
Yes,
nuisance
yes,
qualification
yes,
as
yes.
well.
That we lumped in with the Plan
Correct.
Commission's
Correct.
Wow.
lawsuit. And then, as you guys may know, Laura passed, so we've been dealing with the estate, which is.
Wow.
Well, and then her son passed
Yeah,
away.
Brian and Laura both
So like a
passed.
double.
That's awful.
Yeah. So
And then the nieces are contesting the will,
Oh, no.
so it's a big mess. But then we were in judges' chambers, and Andrew, thank God, had the idea that at least we could evict the tenants of the mobile home and then get the mobile home removed. And then we're kind of just out of it because the
Right.
property's in compliance.
yeah.
Right.
Estate can deal with it as long as, now the house that's there, the old farmstead is a mess.
And somebody's living there, I think.
Someone's living there and
But-
supposedly moving out too. I
Okay.
don't know, but it's a huge mess. But our last part of the court was getting the tenants moved out, and then we need to somehow get the mobile home removed, which Thompson Smith is the attorney for the estate. Says the
Thompson
estate doesn't
Smith
have
has
any
been
money.
very good to
Yeah,
deal with
yeah.
on this, has been helpful.
But So we're finally.
And they paid off, the estate did sell some property in Garrett, I believe, and paid off the $7,500
Yeah.
judgment they owed.
Yeah.
Well,
Great.
that's good. You don't always
positive.
see that.
Yeah,
So there's some positive going
Yeah.
on there.
great.
Good.
So we've
Good
been,
work.
this Stephen Moore, we were gonna evict him right before Christmas.
Oh.
And then it's the kind of sad, part. What's that?
Anything else for Chris?
Oh,
I do. Real quick, the code ESRI agreement.
Oh, yes.
In
forgot
your
about that
packets, there would have been, the COGESIS, we have an agreement between the city of Auburn, what is it, Auburn, Butler, Garrett,
Waterloo,
Waterloo.
Hamilton.
And this.
And can I cut in?
Go for
Okay.
it.
Our COSEGIS is county city GIS. So the city of Auburn holds the licensing for our GIS mapping software, Esri. And then we pay into that licensing based off of, I believe it's square miles. So we all divvy up based off of what we are per square mile. So anyway, this is something that, Susan, was the date on that like 2021? Is that what I emailed you?
Yeah,
There,
we
back
think it should have
when,
been signed in 21.
back when AES was having its big turnover, this document that needed to be signed in 2021 somehow got missed. And it's basically allowing DeKalb County and the other entities that need to sign it, the ability to have access or user licenses for Esri, so we can have GIS.
So I just need a motion for Bill to sign it.
what's the name of the agreement
You can just
for the
call it
motion?
COGESIS. It's good. We got it.
Make a motion-
COSEGIS.
Make a motion, we
COSEGIS.
sign the
COGESIS.
COSEGIS agreement,
COGESIS. I thought that looked weird. I'm like, that sounds
so we can
weird.
have
County,
our,
city, GIS.
so we can have our GIS data, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion?
That's the motion, we
Okay.
sign the COSEGIS agreement.
I'll second.
A motion and second. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Am I here for a half hour?
Yes.
Susan caught me, when Susan said that, I thought you were holding up something else, but the
No?
truck,
Got something.
were you gonna bring the truck up?
No, go for it.
Okay.
Are you talking to me?
No, Bill.
Oh.
Well, I was going to bring up the tire facility up in Corona on 6.
Okay.
That is being sold. Not done yet. The buyer's buying it as is and is going to clean it up. And put a
That's good
different-
news.
Put a different business in, as I understand.
Okay.
Talk to the present owner. So hopefully that just goes away. We don't have to,
If you happen to find out who the new owner is and a phone number, I'd be happy to give them a call. Or when we get the code compliance
sure.
person hired, give them a call and just let them know that
Yeah.
it needs to get cleaned
Yeah,
up.
it's still working. They're still working on
Great.
the deal, but it's pretty tentative, pretty certain it's going to happen.
Great.
I haven't talked to the owner. The only other thing I had, and this is just kind of up to you, we had a situation down at the Developmental Services just before Christmas, when I walked in with the Christmas certificates or presents. Do you want to reiterate on that or anything, or it was quite,
Well, can I bring up something really quick just so I can get it out of the way? The truck needs that transmission. We took it to Summit. Summit says that they aren't going to work on it because it's an 8-speed. I don't understand that. We have two quotes currently, one for like 6,500 and one for like 3,500. I think the only difference is the $3,500 is a used one and the $6,000 one is a new one. The used one is like a 10,000 mile, 1-year warranty. The other is a 36,000, 3-year warranty. I don't have them on me, Susan, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
What would you guys like me to do with the truck?
God, as some,
I would get rid of it. The used transmission's gonna fail too. Those 8 speeds are a problem.
You'd get rid of the truck totally?
I would get rid of it, yeah, because you Put the new transmission in it, I think you're throwing good money after bad. If you put the used in it, you're gonna replace it again at 40 or 50,000. They're just
Okay.
they're unfortunately a bad transmission, just like the 10-speed. So I think it needs to be traded off. Jeff talked maybe, he could even maybe use an F-150, like a little more room size for going
Yeah.
through the fields and such. They're the same, a big truck and a small truck's almost the same price. So you're gonna get a little better service out of a full size. But I think it needs to go away.
Okay.
Especially it's got around 80 on it now, which isn't a lot of miles in today. But you go and throw 6-7 grand in the transmission, and let's say the engine goes out or the transfer case or whatever, you just start piling money into that. And it's unfortunate,
Okay.
but they're no problem on those. I think what happened is it probably had, those develop water in the transmission is what they do, or moisture. And then if it isn't caught right away and it starts making that stutter,
Yeah.
it burns the clutches up in it. And then after that,
We're done for. Okay. So we'll work on getting some quotes for various trucks.
yeah, if Jeff would tell me exactly what he needs, I can at least advise, hey, go for this model or that model for longevity or
Okay. I'll
fuel
tell Jeff to
economy or
text you
whatever.
then.
And
Or get
yeah,
in
he's
touch
got
with
my
him.
number,
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And
Can you
then,
recommend and just trade it?
I would, I
Trade
think,
it.
yeah. My opinion,
Okay.
Wouldn't argue with that at all.
yeah.
Well, the issue that Bill's bringing up is we had as Todd and I need to still go to lunch, probably this week, sick, and then Christmas, and then New Year. So we had a property that was building a new home, and I can't remember what road it is off the top of my head, but how the 4 homes surrounding it were addressed, on County Road 27, thank you, how the other 4 homes were addressed were out of sequence. And that was done 20, 25, 30 years ago. Back when we had we have not changed the way that we issue addresses, the address schema, the math equation that is used to issue address hasn't changed. But the people that did the addressing back then just went in sequential order of how the homes were built versus the address scheme of if you're this far from the intersection, it's a whole issue. I don't know how it totally works. GIS now, thank God, does the math for us to issue addresses. 2 of the 4 people I've not heard from. One gentleman I spoke to, he wasn't happy with me. He went on to call Todd. Todd and I are going to meet about it. And probably, to be honest, his address doesn't need to change. It was only off by 4 or 6 numbers based off of what it was. But then Bill got the honor of walking in on a gentleman in our office, pretty upset that his address had to change. He also went on to not only berate us in our office, but also Bill as a county commissioner on what it is that we do. I don't believe that he's here. He said he was going to show up today, but upset with a lot of things in the county that really didn't have anything to do with my office or the address in its own, but left pretty upset. This has caused me to look at how we, for this particular instance, did this change. That probably sending a letter of the corrective address isn't the correct way to go about it. Probably trying to meet with them and talk to them about it first, talking about it with you guys, because you 3 are probably going to get the complaints the most. But it was a pretty eye-opening learning experience for me. I've never had to do that before. And in the 8 years we've been here, we've never had to issue corrective addresses. It was something that we didn't take lightly. We talked about it internally and then along with Brian Humbarger at Central Communications. And his opinion was we need to change the addresses because of how the sequential order in which they were addressed in the first place was wrong. And, you know, some people, you know, get upset, but if you need 911 and they can't find your house, or they go past your house thinking it's further north or further south, those seconds matter. So I hope that they would understand that. But Bill, do you want to?
But I can say it got pretty intense. The gentleman got
Yeah.
rather belligerent, accusing me of different things and like,
That really had nothing to do with
yeah.
what
he
you were
went
doing
way off the
anyway.
track, and, you know, and everything was wrong. Everything I had done was wrong. And what really hurt my feelings, he called me lazy, and I've never been called lazy before in my life. But anyway.
And stupid. I think he called you stupid too.
Yeah,
Stupid
yeah,
and
he
lazy
was-
and
He didn't
dumb.
wanna admit that.
It was the whole 9 yards.
It was pretty.
But I'm glad Bill showed up because it was.
Yeah.
I think had Bill not been there, he could have gone a little worse, don't you think?
Yes.
Especially with.
Well, when I kind of interjected into the
Yeah.
conversation and got accused of,
I asked him to too.
and then he cut loose on me, so it took him off.
Pressure off Chris.
It took pressure off Chris. But anyway,
Chris
I'll
now
just duck behind the counter.
Bill Hartman.
Yeah, County Commissioner President Bill Hartman. So.
but anyway, hopefully we can get that kind of ironed out.
Yeah.
And not hold it
I've not
grudge.
heard from him since. You know, and Todd, I think you and I can go to lunch one day.
All right.
Yeah. But I like your idea of calling them in, getting with them one-on-one.
It was a learning thing for me. So.
And it's just a matter of the numbers. The county road stays the same. It's just changing the numbers to get it into sequence.
Which road
Address
was that?
changes have always been difficult, though.
County Road 27.
Thank you.
We went through a number of those in Auburn Plan Commission, and people are always upset because of all the changes they have to do on their checking accounts and drive.
It's a lot of changes
Credit cards
that
and
we-
everything, so.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I stress that.
You
That
know,
it's,
that
you know,
communication
yeah.
in
And the-
advance is always a.
And what's
benefit.
interesting to me, the post office doesn't just automatically remove the current address. They actually just link them together, which
Yeah.
I don't want to tell people this, but, you know, so they will still continue sending your mail to that address, you know, for an extended period of time, but,
Right.
yeah, it's not.
I wonder if it sounds like you're already doing this, but focusing on the emergency services aspect of it is you could be having a heart attack when seconds matter and they're going to the wrong house.
Yeah, with that
That's one
said,
that,
though,
yeah, I don't want to change my driver's license, but I also don't want to have a heart attack and be seconds late.
With that said, though, with GPS tracking, it takes you right to the front door. It's not like
Oh,
looking for
okay.
the,
Yeah.
okay, there's 7223, then there's 7, okay. You know, but you're right, because
I don't-
in a way, you're right, because if it's 7235 here and this one's supposed to be 7236 and it's 7234, you're
Right.
like, what just happened?
It was just sequentially wrong. So the
Yeah,
number
you'd want
that
it
should
to
be
be in
higher
sequence.
was
Right.
lower.
So there's some, what I'm saying is there's validity to what you said, but then again,
Yeah.
when they type in on the GPS to get there, you've
Usually
arrived at your
right there.
destination and there you are, but,
Yep.
you know,
I
so.
see, that's a good point.
And then the sign is supposed to be on the mailbox with the actual
Yeah. And we have
address,
that to
so-
bring forward probably in February to you guys, the new addressing
Oh, okay,
thing that we've discussed
Yeah.
back in November, December.
right,
And discuss with the plan commission.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I've got 8 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Didn't
Have a
know I
good
had all
day.
that to talk to you about, but
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Have a good new
day.
year.
Hey, Happy New Year to you guys too.
Michelle, you are up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey, so I sent you guys the application for the juvenile Department of Correction grant. This is what we use to fund the Chage Academy. And also we have a little bit of funding in there for juvenile GPS monitoring if necessary. So I was just here to get approval of that. It went before the advisory board. It was approved by them, no major changes. And the Department of Correction has already told all the juvenile programs that they will receive the exact same funding they received in previous years. So we wrote the application knowing that that was the case and just trying to figure everything else out. The only change we're really going to have in the budget is we are going to be asking for additional funding from the school districts. which is something from my understanding and from the records we've been able to find has never happened since the Change Academy started. They've all been warned, they all know it's coming, and we do have a meeting set up with all the superintendents on January 22nd to go over that with them and answer any questions that they have about that.
Okay. You say the grant money is the same?
Yes, will be the exact same amount received last year, the year before.
How does that work out with inflation and cost of living and increased wages?
That's part of the reason we're telling the schools that they have to pay more per seat now.
But it is.
Yeah.
And I don't really expect any resistance from the schools, or I think they all pretty much feel it's money well spent.
Yeah, I believe so. And I think, the ones that we've had brief conversation with, kind of letting them know this was coming, have not really said anything negative about it and just kind of said, we'll see you at the meeting. So I don't foresee a problem with it. And if there is, I'll definitely let you guys know.
And I believe you had sent this to me earlier like in December to review, and I didn't have a problem with it. So as far as the MOU that we're talking about here today.
Perfect.
Any comments, questions from Michelle?
Okay, so Michelle, you want them to approve the grant part. Are you also wanting them to approve the draft MOU or not yet?
Not yet. I'm going to wait for after that meeting with the school districts to
Okay.
make sure there aren't any other changes we need to make to it.
Okay, so we'll just be approving their
Grant application.
same grant, yeah.
And I will make a motion to approve the grant application for Change Academy.
A motion and second on the floor. Are there any additional comments, commissioners or public? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries. All set?
Okay, thank you.
Do you need a signature or anything? No? I didn't see one either. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, we got some time to break. Let's get into the topics, action items. Payroll, biweekly formally approved prior payroll and current. We'll pay the people or not?
Probably
Here,
not
let's
to.
not do it. Let's see what happens. I'd make
You
a
can
motion.
have it. You can have a job.
I'd make a motion to approve prior payroll and current payroll.
And I will certainly second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any additional comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries. Claims. We had a big batch of claims. Motion to approve.
And there were a lot.
Yeah.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve claims. Additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Claims are approved. Minutes. Do you remember what the minutes were?
Barely.
Never had to read them to know.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve minutes. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Minutes are approved. Okay. Miscellaneous topics, appointments, Plant Commission and Board of Health. Let's start out with we had the commissioner representation on the Plant Commission. Shall we start with that one?
I'll move to appoint Bill to the Plan Commission.
I will second. Additional comments, questions?
Well, I certainly don't, I can live without 3 extra meetings a month, so that's not an issue, because I am on the plant committee and liaison to Auburn's Plan Commission as well. But let's call this what it is. This is just simply retaliation for a difference of opinion on the Sculpin project, and I don't think anybody east of the Mississippi has any doubt about where that's coming from. I think that politicizing these appointments, just in general, is a path that we really shouldn't be going down. I realize it's an election year, and you've got to appease your political action committee group, and in that situation, and I understand where that's coming from, but last year we just out of the blue removed probably one of the most qualified Plan Commission members that had ever been on the Plan Commission, and now we have some other conversations this year. I just think we're going down a path that throwing experienced people out, replacing them with people with basically no experience. The purpose of the way these commissions and boards are designed is meant to put the most qualified people on, and experience matters on those things. I certainly don't see anything to do with solar coming up in the Plan Commission this year, but there are probably a lot of other matters where some experience in zoning and planning. And again, I'll mention Jerry Yoder's got 20 years of experience, and I've got 12. And I haven't seen you at the last 3 years worth of Plan Commission training sessions or any of the planning and zoning sessions at any of the conferences. I've attended all of those. So I just think that it is what it is, and politicizing all these things is not in the best interest of the county. But
I guess I'll make a statement why I want to do this. I was going to want to keep Jerry Yoder on the board due to his experience. I wanted someone different to see the board act, and maybe someday the next commissioner can be on the board and rotate the schedules around. There was nothing to do with political with this. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with spreading some responsibility, different eyes see things. But since we're going to go down that road of accusing people of that, I'm not going to approve Jerry Yoder either. So, I mean, if this is the way we're going to be, we can't have a good discussion and just say, hey, a new set of eyes on here to look at this. I didn't even think of solar when I thought of this. A different set of eyes. Mike, I was going to leave Jerry Yoder on. I don't know why you're going off on a rant like that. And saying that it's election year and we got to appease our groups. I'm not even running. I don't have a group to appease. I just want to do what's right for the county. So guess I'll have to rethink about Mr. Yoder now, but my motion stands to put Bill on.
Okay, a motion on the floor. I'm not going to defend what I've been accused of, but in fact, it's totally false. But, and I know I'm not going to convince Mike of anything different, so I'm not going to go down that rat hole. So we have a motion on the floor. Are there any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I will call for a vote then. All those in favor of Bill Arkman, liaison to the Plan Commission, signify by saying yes.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same.
no.
Okay. Then we will move on to Jerry Yoder's position that expires in 2020. It expired in 2023. A motion, I would entertain a motion for that position.
I'll move to reappoint Jerry Yoder.
not seconding that. Until we start being civil with each other and have good discussions in here without talking about politics, I think this.
I will not second it either. Let's table it for another week. Pick it up, or 2 weeks, it'll be 2 weeks. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Van Wy. I'm on the Plan Commission. I'm also a county council. I know you guys have your difference between each and every board, but don't make Jerry part of that, be above that. Jerry's done a good job. He's one of them that comes into the board well educated. He has gone through everything, and he knows what the law of our plan deal is and what we can do and can't do. Don't make him part of the battle between the three of you. Really, I'd like to see you consider him because of his knowledge and his ability to work with it. He'll go visit the sites. He gets everything together. He is well prepared and everything. So I'd appreciate it, and I really would if you would reconsider looking at him. I know you said, I don't know, are you going to try to appoint someone this time? Or are you going to relook at him again in 2 weeks? But at least look at it. I mean, I know we've had some changes. I'm not one, as you know, is great for changes, but I'd like to have him on the board. We don't always agree. I can tell you that by 100%. We don't always agree with me and my policies, the way I look at it. But at least he gives me an opportunity to look at it somewhere else. So I'd appreciate you to look at it in his name again. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Well said, Bill.
Any other comments, questions? Agreed to table it for 2 weeks? That issue is tabled. Okay. We have one more, I believe, and that is the Board of Health. And it appears we have 3 candidates. We meet the requirements of the largest populous city mayor, putting forth 3 candidates' names. We have that, we've met that requirement. I was disappointed that the second largest city did not have a say as far as putting forth recommendations, but that is left only 2 populations of over 200,000 in the county. So we can move on with that. We have 3 names. Susan, do you have those names?
Yes. Steve Teeters, Herb Horam, and Eric Weber.
Okay. Any comments before we make a motion?
Have to have a motion and a second before discussion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to appoint Steve Peters to the Board of Health.
Do I have a second?
Are we appointing one
One.
in the recommendation? Now, let me understand, because I didn't read the law on this. The recommendation from the mayor, we have to choose from what he recommends, correct?
I believe, and Andrew, you can correct me, I believe that this is to fulfill Mr. Foster's term.
Correct.
So
For 24, correct?
Yeah, so then at the end of '24, then we will need to do it again for the next 4-year term.
Was it my understanding, I believe we had one member that had to be booted off of that
Yeah.
committee because he didn't qualify or didn't meet the requirement.
Correct.
Do you have to live in the county to hold the position?
Good question.
I think so.
I don't know, honestly.
The only reason I ask, because I have no problem with Mr. Teeters. Herb Horum, though, I also feel as though is a very, very good choice. Okay? And maybe we could ask, I heard that Mr. Teeters was maybe moving to Kendallville. So maybe that's something to ask him before we'd approve him if we're going to have to remove him due to moving out of the jurisdiction. So I just want to, I think that's something that ought to be asked.
Well, I talked to Doc Souter last night. They investigated that, and since they
That's
also,
what he told me, yeah. that's
also
what-
serve Noble County, that they're confident that that's still qualifies Steve for the position. That's what,
So the law doesn't say that you have to live in the county then?
I sent a message to Cheryl to see if she
Just like a confirmation of that, just to make sure we're following the rules correctly.
Sure.
But like I say, I have no problem with Mr. Teeters. Herb Horum I've known for years.
Yeah.
He ran a very successful insurance business, plus he was on Board of Works for,
12 years.
yeah, 12
And Plan
years.
Commission before that.
He's well-respected also. Does Herb qualify? I mean, he meets the criteria according to the list I looked at, right? So I know a superintendent was listed as a good candidate, of course.
Yeah, that was the original board
Yeah,
recommendation
Yeah.
was Steve.
so,
Yeah, they vetted all three of those names before,
Mm-hmm.
because originally the mayor had just submitted one name, which
Right.
was Steve.
right.
And then they vetted all three before he submitted the second set of recommendations.
Can we visit this after maybe we
Cheryl
get a?
said,
Okay. Oh, go
Cheryl
ahead.
said no, they don't have to live in the county. They have to live in a county that we would offer services to.
That we would offer services to. How do we offer services from our health department to Noble County?
I'll ask.
We don't. Some counties have health departments that covers more than one county. In Indiana, I do believe, in other words, they have a shared health department.
That's what I'm wondering.
That's-
I just want to make sure we're doing it right. That's all. I'm not,
So where does Steve live?
he lives here now, but I'm told he's moving.
Oh, I see.
I think Dr. Souter may have told me that. I can't remember who told me, but.
And, yeah.
And if we service Noble County, and that's the way the rule reads, I get it. But
We
if they
don't.
have their own health department, how do we service them?
We don't.
And he still lives here, so the thing is, you could approve him and then remove him, but I hate to do that if we have a good candidate, another good candidate. I mean, I have no problem with these candidates he put out, I just want to make sure we do this right. So,
I'd rather see us go with Herb if we're going to go today. So I'll entertain that second on Mr. Teeters, if there is one.
Are we waiting for Cheryl's answer or not?
Yeah, let's get all the information before we,
I guess I'd need to read too, I can be told things, but I need to read what the rule is, and I don't know what services we provide to Noble County.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I'm
saying.
waiting on the answer of.
Yeah.
We do not offer any official service. Michelle has gone, or not Michelle.
Carol.
Cheryl has gone to Noble County and different counties and advised them on different issues that they might have in those counties. She has told us that. But officially, there's no service
But
offered.
we don't set up clinics there, we don't do
No, sir.
vaccinations, we don't.
No.
She said there are times that they do vaccinations for the Noble County residents.
That's interesting.
I thought
So
that's
probably
what-
not
that's
a
what-
clinic, but
I
they,
thought that's what
Are
Dr.
able to
Sauter said
vaccinate.
last night when he called.
What if you tabled this for a little while this morning and someone reached out and called Mr. Teeters directly?
Probably not a bad idea.
To find out if he's really moving.
Correct. And how soon? Like if he's moving in 3 months or is he moving in?
Into
year?
the school
What is
year,
it?
or, yeah. Okay,
That's a good point.
let's table it
Okay.
for later on. Okay. DART invoice, signature for the van,
Is that the purchase of the new one? Or is- yeah.
I think.
This is the one, yeah, I think this is the one that they've been trying to get since 2020.
Yeah. I think it just showed up.
It did.
I was there and
That's the
saw
one we
it.
were
Yeah, it
certain
did
about,
just
and
show
yeah,
up.
several different.
By the way, that's a really nice garage they have out there. They got a nice garage that's one-way drive-through, and they have a nice wash bay, on-demand heater, and it's a little overkill on the heating in there. I mean, I bet you there's a million BTU of heating in that shop. It's crazy. But it's, they're running a nice organization out, or nice operation out there.
Yeah. Okay, need a motion on that.
Oh. Only 102,000?
Yeah,
Oh, boy. I'd make a motion to approve the signature for the van.
motion and a second on the floor. Any additional comments, commissioners or the public? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries. Contract for services for the Chins cases. Familiar with that?
Question on that.
We do this one every year.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
Mr. Swiger currently the attorney for
Yes.
the Chins cases?
Correct.
I thought he was.
He has been for
Yeah,
quite a while.
yeah. And the judges I see signed off on it.
Any questions or comments?
Did the fees change any from last year? See, it's 3,416 per month, 41,000 a year. Know if,
I can look.
I have a question, maybe more for Andrew. Paragraph number 7A. Attorney shall maintain individual case records showing services provided, hours served on each appointment. The records shall include types of cases, number of cases, and number of children. Such records shall be available for inspection by the assigned court, provided such inspection does not create a conflict of interest. Have those records been provided, I assume, to the court? Or is that,
I have no idea about that. I did look over the GAL contract, and I did see that paragraph. I don't know if he's provided that or not. If he has regular office management software, the various cases you have, you can keep hours usually tracked with your different cases. So you can know, for example, the Smith case, he's put this many hours on in court, or, you know, plus letters, plus home visits and that sort of thing. But as far as whether or not anyone has looked at his hours for each case, I have no idea. I didn't talk to any of the judges on this. I didn't want to get, you know, cause any problems or investigate anything on this. I just reviewed the contract.
Can we
Judge
request,
Graham handles almost all of the Chins cases, if not all of them. So knowing how Judge Graham operates, I'm sure he's on top of it.
I've seen
I
Corey
don't-
in
I don't
court
know that for
many
sure.
different times, and my experience with him is that he does a very good job and, really, does a good job for it, so.
Your thought, you're just trying to figure out hourly, what the hourly
yeah,
rate is, or?
are we getting, I mean, we're talking $41,000 a year. Are we getting our money's worth or not?
Or would an hourly assessment be better, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it
went up $4,100.
went up, so 10%.
So I would think Monday mornings and then maybe some afternoons, he's going to be involved because those are Chin's days or Child in Need of Services days in circuit. Plus, he's got home visits that may entail driving to different areas of the county or even outside the county. I've done some GAL work for divorce cases or paternity cases, which are more like private pay or sometimes court pay. I had to drive to Bluffton on one case, so I mean, he may have some hours involved in that or meeting with the kids and that sort of thing. I don't know whether he has to drive to meet with the kids that are down at Daymar in Indianapolis or some other institution around the state. I don't know.
I think we should approve it, but I'd like to see next year, when we go to approve, see what the actual hours attended were versus what we paid, and that way we get an hourly. Maybe sometimes that backfires the other way too, and say, oh, well, I worked for $95 an hour instead of my normal $220 or whatever,
Yeah.
And, but
Probably going to be something that you guys will have to discuss with
yeah,
because
just,
they're not going to give just anybody.
well, I know, but I think they'd want to give it to us if they want us to approve it,
I
so.
meant you personally.
Oh, yeah, no, I have no
Okay.
problem with that. I'm just saying, I think it'd be good to review, it's taxpayer money we're talking about here to.
Right. And you wouldn't need to know the names of the clients. You just
No,
want to know
just the
the
total
hours.
hours,
You
yeah.
just want to know the hours.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it just
We
gives us
don't, obviously we do.
No, that'd be confidential, but
That's
yeah.
covered.
total hours worked versus what we paid, you divide it out and say, okay, that's a reasonable hourly rate. But for now, I'd make a motion to agree or sign the contract for the Chin's cases.
A second?
He seconded.
Okay, a motion is second. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries. Break time.
Hey, Lynn.
I did.
They can come my way, yep.
Okay, we are back in session. Next on our list is 2024-0-1, ordinance to preserve the location of and prevent damage to section corner markers within DeKalb County.
Are you wanting to skip Ben and do this, or?
Oh. No, let's get Ben in here.
Okay.
It is his time.
Bid openings at 30, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
You make him feel bad if we skip him.
We got a few things we have to do, but
Sorry, Ben.
It's okay.
I just wanted to make sure.
What you got, Ben?
morning. Well, first off, I've got the award of the 2024 annual highway bids for the Highway Department. We took those under advisement the last meeting, and we went through all the bids. I've sent a bid tab list out to you guys by email. I also have a copy here if anybody would like a hard copy. I've got that. Everything was fine, put in there, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't award all bids for 2024 season. You guys had any questions, comments? I did bring the original bid copies up with me.
That in my email.
I believe in the years past, your motion was just to accept all bids or split them out if you would.
We typically accept all bids due to product availability, location of the jobs, contractor availability, and due to the project, so we accept all bids for that reason.
Okay, motion to approve all bids.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion second on the floor. Are there any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. What else you got, Ben?
Much stuff, there it is. I have the agreement between DeKalb County and Butler, Fairman, Seifert for the small structure study. If you guys had a chance to review that, I did send that back and forth with Andrew, had his review, asked Butler, Fairman, Seifert for a little clarification on some of the billing and corrections to be made in the contract for that. That was made. So I brought that contract up today, see if you guys had any further questions, comments, concerns, or if you're okay with us moving forward with that.
What do you think, gentlemen?
I think I'm good with the structure agreement with BFS. I mean, you're happy with it, right, Ben, with the clarifications you got? And
They did a good job on the last study we had done.
And that was, what, 9 years ago?
2015 it was done, yes.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's done again.
how many small structures do we have roughly?
This was for 300 and, I'm trying to remember, 374, I think this was for.
Really?
Yes, it is. And that's 3 foot in diameter and larger.
Yeah.
30-foot diameter.
This is not.
Not really
Usual
small, are they?
12-inch cross pipes.
Yeah.
These are all bigger pipes.
Right.
And, yeah.
In here, I just don't look at it.
That's no big deal. This, do you think 300 and something?
Yeah, it is. $375.
Yeah. Closer to 400. A lot of pipe to look down.
Yeah.
They send cameras down those?
I'm sorry, Bill, what's that?
Do they send cameras?
They walk them. They're 3 foot in diameter and larger, so they walk through them.
They go actually go through them?
They'll
Okay.
walk through it, and they'll poke through it, and they'll measure them, and they'll inspect it and check the ground around it, and
Okay. Well, that takes some time. Okay.
and this is for all 3 commissioners to sign.
And make a motion that we accept the agreement between us and BFS Engineering for the small structures.
I will second.
A motion and a second on the floor. Are there any additional comments? Public or commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries.
That's
Excuse me.
You want this effective as of today?
That's fine. Today, there, then on the very front page of the contract, I have to have the date there as well. Then, next thing I got for you is just an informational, is our County Road 56 project is out for bid, and the letting date is January 18th. So that's coming up. I did get on NDOT's site Thursday and seen that we have Brooks Construction and E&B Paving as the plan holders at this point. So I'm gonna check it again this week, see if anybody else picks it up, but so far, there's 2 that's looking into that project, so that will be bid on the 18th. I imagine the 18th, maybe the 19th, I'll have some results from NDOT. Know where them costs come in at and our next steps. So, a reminder that that's coming.
Right.
That'll be interesting.
It will be interesting,
We're hoping more people come in on this thing, though.
right?
Only 2.
I was kind of surprised we didn't have more on there, but it's a little early yet.
Yeah. As big as that project is, I would think we'd have some response.
The January 18th.
Yes. Anyway, that was just FYI for you. The only other thing I have is the bid opening for 2024 paving projects, 10:30, so we've got 4 minutes yet.
Okay. How long would it take to do that previous suggestion?
The section corner thing?
Yes.
Well, as long as you guys read it, you can just approve it by title only on first reading, and then if you want to waive the requirements to do the second and third, or do the second and third the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's do the first reading. You okay with that? Yeah. Let's do that. Any comments, Tyler?
No, you guys read it, just,
Make sure that mic's on.
Yeah, just if you guys read it, it's a pretty basic ordinance to ensure that nobody's damaging the cornerstones. We're starting a cornerstone reclamation project. It's been kind of ignored for a little while, so we're trying to get those all found in the county again. So this is the start of it. Then we're gonna send out to licensed land surveyors to start reclaiming all those cornerstones throughout the county and be a big project that will go on. But to get that started, we had to have an ordinance in place to make sure they weren't being damaged, or if they are being damaged, that they're held responsible for it. There's a fine in there that can be established if they're damaged and responsible for the cost to replace them. So,
Could you explain the importance of these cornerstones?
well, that's a big factor for licensed land surveyors to establish different land markings when they're doing their surveys. They're official. So, yeah, we just have to make sure that they're out there for them to find.
Yeah.
So some of them are a little tougher to find. They've been having to go off of cornerstone markers that are further away from the project they're trying to survey, which can be an issue and be more expensive for residents of the county who are having surveys done. So,
No cornerstones, no surveys.
yep, that's right.
Basically. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cornerstones all the same? Do they all look the same, or are they different over the years? Do they change? What?
I think they can be a little different based on how old they are. Some of them haven't been dug up or modified or replaced for a substantial amount of time. Some of them have had to be replaced, whether it was like a road being repaved or they were dug up and found or they were hit during construction somewhere and replaced. But typically they're like a concrete monument that's in the ground there that's pretty standard, I think. I think some of the older ones have some kind of goofy stuff there in the ground, like rocks or like a concrete, like they can kind of be modified for whatever they just had to use on hand way back whenever they were established. But if we come across those older ones, we'll replace them with a current monument that needs to be in there.
Okay. Any motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance 2024-0-1 by title only on first reading.
We do that since there's fines involved in this?
You have to suspend the rules.
Yeah, okay.
And if you want to do it all today.
Oh, okay.
Or do first reading today and second and third
And we can do
next
by
meeting.
title only, though?
You can still do it, but you can do it by title only because I provided it to you all
Right.
48 hours
Right.
before the meeting.
Yeah, which I
That's
read.
what qualifies that part,
And then because there's a fine, I believe it has to be published,
after it's all approved.
yeah, before
Yeah.
it becomes in
Okay.
force. Has to be published first.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second on the floor. Are there any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries. We'll do the second and third in 2 weeks.
That's your guys' call.
Yeah. We're up to the clock.
Okay.
Okay, Ben, I'm not going to miss you this time, Ben.
All right. Well, it being 10:30, we'll open the bids for the 2024 street paving package. Susan, I have one from API Construction. Total bid, $1,523,568.
It?
That's it. Pocket change, right? Have one from E&B Paving. Total project, $1,673,058.03. Yes. Have one from Brooks Construction. $1,528,677. That's close. Okay. I'd like to make a recommendation that you allow me to take those under advisement, bring back to the January 22nd meeting for award.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our usual procedure, and we'll stick with that.
So if I
Sure.
can have a motion and
Make the motion to advisement.
A motion and a second on the floor. Additional comments? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
well, that's all I have for you guys, unless you have anything else for me today.
Anything for Ben? Anyone?
Couple of draws coming up, you're gonna, all right to go ahead and pay them?
The what now?
Couple of draws coming up for
Yeah,
the build, is it all right to go ahead and pay them?
I
You
believe so.
satisfied?
Mostly. It's a little behind, but don't pay for any garage doors yet. That's
No.
on there.
No.
No, scratch the garage doors.
Right.
This week, right?
That's what they told us. We'll see. They said last week too.
Yeah.
So if you remember that.
Don't put any faith in any of those delivery dates.
We can only hope, but
Yeah.
you
So
sure
the,
could.
the draw 6, you guys actually approved in your claims before, but I missed having my formal approval in the minutes, so I was just gonna have you do 6 and 7 together in my minutes, if that's okay.
Okay. You need that. Go ahead and make a motion.
6 and 7.
Yes.
I'll second.
A motion and second on the floor. Any additional comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Pay the people, pay those contracts.
Hey,
We are still prodding to keep them moving.
We got a new project manager this last meeting. Karsten resigned from FCI.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Kirsten Dick did?
Another job opportunity supposedly.
We got a new PM. Guy seems real decent so far, a little bit, I've been around him. So he's
Know
got,
the project.
he's learning it. I mean, he had to come in 3/4 the way through and pick up everything, learn it. Brad Newhouse is his name. He seems to be,
You'd be pretty
Pretty knowledgeable.
focused and knowledgeable, yeah.
seems positive so far.
Great.
He's been in contact with me a few different times and asked questions, and I say it seems positive, so.
Hopefully he move us in along. And hopefully get some doors on that shop. It'd be a lot nicer for him to get in there and work. A lot of work on inside that shop yet. And hopefully they get on that, get some doors up. And put a little heat in there even. Seem like that's no problem affording the heat.
Is the gas line completely run out there? We with the
It's
gas-
ran to the building, yes.
It is to the building, just terminated there. They haven't hooked it up,
It's hooked to the building.
It is
but
hooked to the
But
building.
it's off at the building.
which makes sense. Okay. So they're ready to roll. It just got to have some doors where we
We're
turn
waiting
the
on
heat.
electrical from NIPSCO yet.
Okay.
Transformer's not been set yet. FCI had to go in and make altercations to the pad that they poured. They had to hammer some of that out and make some changes per NIPSCO. It was doing that Thursday and Friday last week. They did not, NIPSCO did not give a date when they would have power there yet.
Pull and drag it across the road and hook it up, right?
They've got it staked along 6 for the power poles. And then
Oh, they're gonna pull it? It's gonna go on.
it will be a drop from the pole out front.
You getting 3-phase there?
They seem pretty confident that if the three-phase isn't there, we'll still have enough power to operate though, so. With what's there, should.
What do you need the three-phase for the, what equipment uses three-phase?
I don't have any that I'm aware of. I don't
Just
know.
dropping it just to have it?
I don't have the reasoning that was engineered out, Todd, and I don't know
You
why
know
all the
what equipment's
requirements.
three-phase out there? Usually it's big electric motors that require three-phase.
Yeah, and we questioned that earlier on, and they said, no, you need three-phase. Now, whether they're, I don't know.
We're getting a new compressor, is that correct?
No,
No, we're taking the compressor with us, that's okay, that's single phase.
that's going with us.
That's single phase.
I don't know what it is, unless it has to do with the load throughout the facility. I'm not an electrician, I don't know.
That won't have any effect on if a single phase, if you run it on single phase load, and that three-phase doesn't mitigate that at
No,
all.
doesn't.
It's separate
Three-phase
altogether,
just,
so if you don't have any three-phase equipment,
just comes at different angles. In other words, the voltage flowing back and forth comes in three phases instead of a 240 circuit's 180 degrees out of phase, and a three-phase is 120 degrees out of phase.
Yeah.
And if you use it for big motors because they need that startup, and also they run better on three-phase, they don't have as much load on them because it's being taken up on each 120 degrees. But
Do you
I don't know why we need it out there if we're not running big motors.
it's inexpensive.
rent or lease anything that would require three-phase?
You don't have three-phase over there now, do you? Do you? Okay.
Maybe it's just a common thing to do in a
That's what
high-end
I'm,
commercial or industrial operation. Out at the airport, they have, some of the hangar doors are three-phase, but those hangar doors are 60, 70,000 pounds. So they're heavy. Oh, yeah, you get a 60-foot span by 18-foot tall. That's a big door.
That is a big door.
yeah, that's a big,
Glad we
Oh, yeah,
didn't
the
know.
motor's that big that lifts it, so
Must have something to do with our crane in there possibly too.
the crane might be three-phase.
oh,
That'll all be new.
Now, if it's already in the bid, it doesn't matter, it's,
Yeah.
is what, and if
It
you
is
do
what
end up
it
with
is,
three-phase
pretty much.
equipment, it's gonna be nice to have it, but I was just wondering
Interesting.
what was currently three-phase.
well, it gives you the option down the road buying new equipment. If the three-phase is
Yeah.
going to function better than the two, go with the three-phase.
Be good to have. I mean,
Yeah, it's probably okay to have. Anything else?
Okay.
Hey, Ben, thank you, sir.
Yep, you
Ben.
guys have a good day.
Ready for the fun?
Yeah, they say we've got precipitation coming.
Get the sold out, because I think you're gonna need it, don't
Yeah.
you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends on the temps. There'll probably be slushing off roads, I imagine, but
It's supposed to turn to rain in the morning.
Yeah.
by 8 o'clock.
Got a report from
Say-
Jason and Van Zyl on the
An inch of
weather.
rain or something then or something.
Wow, that won't be good. Hopefully get some flooding out of that, then, won't we?
Good, yeah.
Okay. Let's clean up this commissary report, Sheriff.
I'll move to acknowledge receipt of the commissary report.
Yeah, before I second that, I'm fine with it. I'd like an explanation on it, though.
Sure.
Pull it back up here. Go back in my zip file that Susan gave me.
Do you want to,
I got it right here, I'm sorry. What did the numbers actually mean here? I see, so they brought receipts from inmate phones. What exactly is that? So are they use phones that we provide and we make $50,000 in a year?
There are phones there that they pay to use, yeah.
50 grand?
Yeah.
Really? And then receipts, would receipts be from stuff they buy, candy bar or whatever like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
So 20, and then the disbursements are the expenses out of the commissary then?
Right.
That's, okay, I just want to make sure those were the totals. So really it netted, it made $48,000. We need to open up more commissary and have less jails. We just need more commissary, right?
You wouldn't believe some
they're
of the
tricky
stories
little
about
things.
sheriff's commissaries. I mean, we're really fortunate here that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our sheriffs have always have been conscientious about that, but there are some real horror stories about commissaries being used as slush funds and.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
really
bad.
buying and selling cars and
Yeah.
money's never accounted for. And
Do we really have $127,000 in there as a balance?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
Okay,
Yeah, previous sheriff had some pretty big balances.
all right.
And part of it, I think, so the commissary we're talking about for the prisoners to pay to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Vending
You want them to
machines.
be able to communicate with their families.
Oh, no, I agree. I was just
Yeah.
amazing. It's
So-
$50,000 for a phone, which considering phones are pretty much free to make calls anywhere. Hey, they can pay. I have no problem with that. I'm just saying, it's,
That's the only thing we make any money on.
I
when it
agree.
comes to
We get killed on everything else, so.
everything else
That's
costs
why I say
us.
we need more commissary unless, all right.
Yes, yes, sir.
I'll second Mike's motion to accept the acknowledge receipt of the commissary report.
Okay, motion and second on the floor. Additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same.
While we're at it, I'll make a motion to acknowledge receipt of the coroner's report.
And it was interesting data, and it was,
Yeah.
I will second that.
Okay, motion second to coroner's report. Any additional comments?
I think this is the first we've received.
Yeah, I haven't seen one before. It's-
I haven't either
Yeah.
in the 10 and a half years I've been here. This is
Didn't
the first
realize
time.
we had issues like this.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries. Did the highway draw?
We already did that.
Yes. Mary Claire Clark, you are up.
I just wanted,
Is that on?
Is your remote?
I'm on,
Your
I'm
mic-
on.
Okay.
You're just not tall enough.
You're just height challenged.
There
you
need
go.
a stool, we get you a stool share.
I just talked to you the way I talked to my kids. when they were
Oh,
little.
Then we would hear you.
Mary Claire Clark
Hello.
is our contractor for the HFI funding. She's been very instrumental, and I wanted to make sure I wrote down some things so that you would know. She has built the proposal system for people, for our grantees to go in and apply for the money. She has built the dashboard, which is the one paper that looks like an Excel sheet that we sent you. She has also, she put together the MOUs, the format for that, among many other things. In the beginning, her, Alyssa, and I, all three worked together, and as time has gone on, I have stepped back. They fill me in on what's happening, which is exactly what we had planned. I just want to give them credit. They've worked very hard on this. And then, of course, Alyssa. Alyssa's the one that has been. And then I'll let them come up. And you can.
Thank you for letting us come today and talk to you about these different things. Alyssa's here if you need any questions that are health department specific. I might not know all the answers, but were you able to look over the sheet that you have that looks like this? So this is just kind of like a bird's eye view of everything that we had made recommendations for funding based on the applications that we had. So you have a PowerPoint.
Was
You
that
don't-
in our packet?
Yes. And I mean, it should be.
Yeah.
So there was a PowerPoint that just kind of went through the different data points, how we moved forward with putting the RFP, which is request for proposals, up there. It's how we assisted the community in understanding what the purpose of the grants were. We built a little temporary website just within my own Google platform, just so that people could go and get information about what the state expected us to do with the funding in the different core service areas. And then also, one of the first pages of that PowerPoint has information specifically about DeKalb County and what our areas, where we ranked in the state and versus the entire state. So you could look at, for example, smoking cessation or smoking for adults and youth, and you could see that the state of Indiana had maybe 20-point-something% of the state was still determined to be smoking. And then when you look at the DeKalb County numbers, it was like 25.9%. So you could see that that was an area we probably wanted to hit a little harder on in our county because there is a lot more incidents here than there is across the rest of the state on an average. So that is in there too. There's just a wealth of information in there. We can give you all the raw data behind it too, but it's kind of nice to see it, spelled out in different combinations of the data. So that's in that PowerPoint that you received that just has all that information. And if you didn't get a chance to go over that, I don't know if we could pull it up and we could go through it real quick, but if you did get a chance to and you're not needing that much information about it, or if you're pretty familiar, I know you all have been meeting about this longer than I have, so you probably have a lot of that information historically, but any questions about that?
Thank for the questions, comments.
And I'm happy to just go through the numbers if that's, want to get to that point, or if you'd like to go through the PowerPoint, we could probably do that as well.
Can I ask you, how did you, I see St. Martin's asked for $90,000.
Mm-hmm.
And you're giving them 44, 50, 56,000 total, it looks like. I feel as though St. Martin's is is a really great entity to have due to their mobile net, clinic.
Oh, yeah.
Have their serving the poor. That's my biggest concern is serving the poor with these funds here. They don't have the doctor that they can go to. I'd like to see more money there. Children's First Center, we already give, and I know this is a different program, don't get me wrong, but we give
And I'm
them,
not sure which one you give for now, but
we
yes.
give them $35,000 a year already out
Okay.
of general funds. I'd like to see them go to 35,000 here and us not give them the money out of our general fund, is what, you know what I'm saying? This money was additional money we received, and now we're paying them twice if we give them, we're adding a program. I get that we're adding a program, but again, we're spending more tax money to the same entity. And I would like to see, if we're gonna do this, I'd like to see those numbers be what we gave them and pull it out of our general fund giving. We give no, do we give that out of lighted funds? I can't, out of lighted funds.
Yeah, that's like,
Yeah.
but still.
I'm just saying it's, I'd like to see St. Martin's get more. I'd like to see Children's First get more, but not from our lighted funds. YMCA, I'm not sure about. Northeastern Center, I'm glad that's zero. They already get 325, or they already get 400,000 from us.
Okay, good to know, yeah.
400,000.
And
Which we have to.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing, I'm just
It's mandated.
mandated.
Yeah.
We and that's a lot of money. That's one of our biggest expenses that go out as far as to pay to another entity. So there's my comments on that from what I see.
Yeah. Would it be helpful to kind of explain how we came down to
Yes.
what, if they requested something, then how we came back to that?
Yeah.
So we sat down, the three of us, went over all the applications. We had met with several of the partners, including St. Martin's and some other ones ahead of time. We did tell them to kind of shoot for the stars for what they wanted and told them we probably wouldn't be able to give them the whole amount because our whole budget for this is $169,950. And so because that budget is so small, and it's not small, I mean, it's great, it's wonderful, it's not, we haven't had that before, so it's wonderful to have that, but it's not, but for the number of requests and everything that came in, it was really, there's no way I think we had, I can't remember the big number, but like maybe a million, how many $1.5 million at least in requests for the 169,000. So the requests were much higher than we had, that we could actually give out. So the State Department of Health has like a very generic, and the health department, or the state in general has like a very generic, like how much can be spent per participant. So we did do a cap of the per participant at $244 a participant, unless it was at our top areas. So the chronic disease prevention, which you'll see the Macmillan Health doing chronic disease prevention, but also the YMCA. The YMCA, we did closer to 300 because the number is really like 330. We didn't tell everybody that because we wanted to make sure that people were just giving us a realistic budget, not, a budget that would just meet exactly 330 per participant. So the ones that are a little higher, it means they're hitting more of those core service areas with what they're doing. So the YMCA is doing follow along with their clients that are going in. They have personal trainer services. They also have dietitian classes with registered dietitians. So it kind of encompasses more of a robust program. And if it is a program that they attend multiple times and it's different information each time and it's a consistent program, we gave that a little more weight. So bike helmets is a one-time shot that we're going in the community and giving bike helmets to families so that their kids are wearing helmets when they're riding their bikes. That's a one-time hit. They may or may not use that. They could use it every day for the rest of their lives. But we know if a family that has something that falls within that chronic disease prevention area, diabetes, obesity, any of the things that really we know hurt our community dollars long-term and hurt our community health long-term, and they're going in and getting really good information. They have an accountability team of other community members, but also their YMCA people. So those are the ones we kind of held a higher weight on that per participant value. And then when we looked at if it's just a supply, like the bike helmets, we want to pay for that supply. We don't want them to do something they can't afford. But if it is a service like what St. Martin's is doing, that is going in and repeatedly reaching these people, we want to make sure we're giving them as much as we can within what the budget allows. And then part of this is if they've already been doing it. One of the slides in there talks about if it's an existing program, an expanded program, a replicated program, which means they're doing it somewhere else and bringing it here, or a new program. If it's an existing program that they're expanding, we love that because we're not paying for everything. If it's a new program, they're going to have to find other funding to help support that new program. If it's a replicated program, they already at least have the know-how, but they still have to fund the whole thing when they get here, which is not something we can do with the funding that we have. And so we kind of looked at that as how that compared and just really what is going to have the biggest bang for our buck. But also, we really want to keep all of these partners engaged because we want their data, because we want to know what DeKalb County wants to do better or needs to do better in the future. What we aren't doing as much in that core service area, there's 16 core service areas. I think 11 of them are only in-house things, right? So environmental services, inspections, things like that. But then the things that we need the community to do, but we can't fund it forever, we want to know what they're doing so we can say, okay, this place, and this place are working on smoking cessation. That's great. This place, and this place are working on chronic disease in the community with our low-income residents. That's great. We still are not seeing movement. Maybe with the smoking, like maybe that number doesn't go down by 2025 at all. And we're talking like fractions of percentage points. Because when the state looks at it, they expect us to improve our numbers by 2% a year at the most. It is not common to change a whole population more than 2%. So if you have a 25.9% smoking rate now, if you got down to 23.9, the state would be jumping for joy because that is a huge difference in the long-term impact of the community. Because it's just like when you put money, you invest money when you're young and it snowballs. It's the same thing when we invest in health. It snowballs, and you guys know that. But it's just kind of that picture of that. So what we could do if we knew that number wasn't moving at all on smoking is say we either need to put more money towards this or we need to analyze what they're doing and see if it's evidence-based. Maybe what they're doing that's not an evidence-based program isn't as useful for our residents. And maybe we want them to turn to a different type program that is more evidence-based. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So over this course this year, I keep calling it the practice year, which is, it's not practice, it's a lot of money and it's a lot of time and effort on everybody's part. But the state really wants us to figure out this year what's really needed next year. Because after this year, we have to report on all 16 core service areas, very specifically report on those. And it's incredible that we get to do this because we've never been funded like this before from the state. The state has never invested in public health like this. But when you look at the state's numbers, especially in these prevention areas, so like suicide prevention, which is the school stuff, and obesity care, to try and get people going to a gym regularly, having a community that cares about that kind of thing. When we really look at how that shift can impact the community long-term, we know that maybe we can go up the ladder on what those numbers are for DeKalb County and Indiana, because Indiana as a state has some of the worst numbers. I think we are third in the country or fourth in the country for suicide rates among youth and among adults, right? So we are, I want to say we have the highest, so it's closer to the other end, highest obesity rates within three points of the next person, the next state that's evaluating obesity through the CDC or whichever entity it is. So there's just a lot of different numbers that we could shift significantly here with this money. So we want to keep as many partners engaged so that we can really get that data and see what's necessary going forward. So with that being said, I totally agree. I wish we could give everybody exactly what they need to do the programs, but if they're new or if they're replicated, it's hard. If they're expanded, it's great. And that's why we did recommend that St. Martin's got the most money out of all the different areas, because we know they are really doing it and their numbers reflect that. So on the one that looks like this, you can see the price per participant. And when you look at Children's First Center, their price per participant for one of their programs is $244.44, because that's the highest we would give them. But for the other one, the trauma and injury prevention, which is the shaken baby classes, which is, I have to remember, getting car seats to people that can't afford a new car seat. Maybe they're using their car seat for their third kid. Those are not effective car seats anymore. And then also getting pack and plays to co-sleeping parents with their children. So those have, again, that really high impact, but it's a one-time hit, which is why that $60.71 is what we're recommending as opposed to that $244. And then with St. Martin's, and you'll look and see that they're just amazing, because on their tobacco and prevention and cessation, they're at $23 per person for that program. On their access and linkage to care, which is them doing that bus and going into the community and also seeing people as walk-ins in their clinic, that's $36 per person. That is nothing compared to $244. And then same thing for chronic disease prevention, which it has different things under those titles. So you can see in the far right column, it says the mobile clinic, direct services, medication management, lab testing. That's what we call the chronic disease prevention. The access to and linkage to care is that local office. So those direct services, including that nicotine replacement therapy, so either a patch or gum or Wellbutrin or whatever it is that helps them quit smoking. And then the direct services, for tobacco prevention, that's a repeated every time they're seeing that person, that they're interacting with them and talking to them on, it's called motivational interviewing. I don't know if you've heard of it, but essentially we take a readiness ruler and we say, on what scale, 1 to 10, how likely are you to put down the cigarettes this year? And they say 1. Okay, why did you choose 1 instead of 3? And they say, because everybody in my house smokes. Okay. If you were in a workplace where there wasn't smoking, like where your peers didn't smoke, do you think that 1 might go to a 2? And it's kind of this thing, and it kind of feels like a mind meld, but really what it is helping them understand their capability to get to a 3. And then next year, maybe they get to a 7. And then the next year, maybe they quit smoking. And that's what they are doing at St. Martin's that stood out to us and was very different. They have clinical tools that they're measuring the success. So maybe somebody doesn't stop smoking this year, but they went on that readiness ruler. They went from a 1 to a 6 this year. That's incredible. Just like that 2% for the state, somebody going from a 1 to a 3 even is huge. That's a 20% jump. The state expects us to do 2, and 2 is reasonable. But they are getting to people. So that's why we offered them more, just for the overview of that. That's why we offered them more. That's why we are recommending that you offer them, I should say. It's not my money. But that's why we are recommending that they get a bigger piece of this pie, because we can see very clinically the outcomes they have. And they're serving a lot of people. And you'd said that Parkview and Northeastern Center, thought you said that they have a lower amount, and you're okay with that because they get money elsewhere, maybe? And maybe it wasn't Parkview, maybe it was
No, it was just
Children First.
Children First was, my concern is we have what's called lighted fund. It's our local income tax.
Oh, gotcha.
We give them 35,000 a year just for whatever they want to.
Yeah.
And these are new services, which I agree.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of this. I have no problem with that. It's just, do they need to do those same services that others can do? Since we already give them money, I'm just saying, if we're gonna give them money, I think we need to cut that much out of what we give them.
And just to clarify,
Undivided.
it is your general fund, not your life.
Oh, it is general fund.
It is
then.
general fund.
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's still tax dollars. But
Yes, yeah, got it.
Yeah. And I think the thing about what Children First Center is doing is they have access to a lot of data on moms and children in DeKalb. So I don't know if anybody up here is familiar with SCAN, Stop Child Abuse Neglect is what it stands for. So SCAN gets the state dollars and then essentially transfers them to do Healthy Families, which is an excellent program that follows baby and mama from literally when they leave the hospital until they're 3 years old. So until the baby is 3 years old. So that's an excellent program, talks about milestones, goes through all these different processes. But to actually do the program, it costs them about 60% more than what they bring in from the state to do the program. So if you look at what they're doing, they're trying to raise money at fundraisers and these other things that don't always meet the bill. And so for us, we said, okay, but you already have funding for that. What are you going to do that's different that this funding could support? And they said, we'll increase the number of mothers that we serve in DeKalb, because they don't just serve DeKalb, they serve several counties around here. They happen to be located here in Auburn, but they serve several counties. So what they said is we are going to make a weekly effort to get here and see moms in this county with a staff member more than we did before. And so that weekly effort becomes that class. Maybe it becomes their case manager going to a doctor's appointment with them because they don't understand which medications they can still take for their psych medications, that kind of thing. And then sometimes the doctor just says things and you're like, I have no idea what that means, and you're too scared to ask, especially if you already feel like you don't get it. And so that will bring that, we think, at least fivefold for those moms that join up. So that was an increase. That was adding more people into DeKalb. They cannot afford, without this funding, to add those extra people in. So the funding that you have is supporting the people they're serving now, which is, I think, like 32 mothers for that one program. I don't know for all the programs, but for that one program, 32 mothers. But they're talking about adding, I think, 11 mothers onto that program. And it's intensive. It's anywhere from 1 to 4 hours a week that they're spending with that mom, which a lot of those moms need. I could have used it. And I was pretty, independent. But I could have used some of those things too. And these are moms that really, really need it. So that's just so you can kind of have a frame of like why we put things where they were. And we wanted to have some kind of consistency to it. That's why we said if we're up to that 244, unless there's a really good reason, we're not doing more than that. And the really good reason for YMCA was that they're doing like 3-in-1 with that one program. It's not just diabetes management. It's also weight management. It's also community support. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of things that fell into that one.
What percentage, 169,000, what percentage is that of the total amount of funds we receive for the additional? Is that at the 40% level? Core services had to be a certain percentage, didn't it?
So I think the total amount that the county got from the state, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
I feel it was a little over 400,000, right? And internally, it's supporting 11 of those programs. So internally only, not going into the community and doing it, the core services, the 16 core service areas, it is mostly supporting that. So it's well over the 40, 60. It's like 80. Like it's huge. So, and one of those services is to have that school nurse liaison, which is a huge deal. And she happens to be here today. First day, that's Shannon back there. So having a school nurse liaison, which was a requirement of the funding, was a chunk, right? That was a chunk of that 400 and some odd thousand. But that nurse liaison is going to bring unmeasurable value to the whole process because we really I did a breakdown in one of these charts where it talked about youth versus adult services. Almost everything is youth and adults or youth. So there's a smaller percentage, which is most of the smoking through St. Martin's, because theirs is actually going to the home. They're not really talking to youth as much when they're doing that. And then the other programs that fall within those areas, so like the tattoo and piercing and all of that certification inspections, that's a very small percentage of that, but that's also within the health department. And they have measures that we have to have for that. So those will be compensated within the health department on some level. And then also supplies for that school nursing position. So, and vaccines and other things. So one of the things that it took me a second to figure out when I was figuring all these numbers out was the health department got a number from the state before. And that number, they're not getting. If we would have opted out, we would have gotten just that basic number. So let's say it was $150,000. Since we opted in and got $400,000, which is, these are very general terms, we're really getting $400,000 minus $150,000. So most of what we're doing, almost all of the dollars, I pulled up the budget that was up on the State Department of Health's website that we submitted. That budget, most of that is going directly to these services. And the 169 is just the portion that was allocated for the community to help the health department get some of these objectives done, because they're already doing it.
Right.
And we want to know what they're doing. And we want them to be engaged with the health department.
It makes sense to support the people that are already
Yeah.
doing the field. And
Because they're not getting that funding from the state either anymore. So if they were getting funding from the State Department of Health to do HIV testing or something, they're not getting that anymore. They have to come through us to get that. So that's another thing, is that that's why we have this for St. Martin's and for, Children's First Center. I keep saying Children's Health Center, I'm sorry, Children's First Center. Those differences that are hitting their budget because now we get the money, that's another reason that's something we're taking into consideration.
so they have been cut off on some funding then.
The funding that came straight from those state dollars, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the money that would have come to the health department, that 150, which was my fake number, right? That 150 that would have supported them through the health department, paying for their vaccines, paying for the materials for their classes, any of that stuff. They're not getting that anymore. They have to apply through this central door.
Like you have a pretty good grasp of it to me.
Too much, I think. I don't know this much about my own health.
Yeah. Do we have a nurse here that can take your pulse, make sure you're okay?
I know, I'm
Blood
like-
pressure, so.
How's it going? Yeah. So that was just why we recommended these numbers. We did write up the MOUs. Part of the MOU process, the memorandums of understanding, is to ensure that that engagement is there. You might see those requirements that we have of them is that they attend a quarterly meeting with the health department, because we want them to make sure they're reporting their numbers correctly to us, that they're reporting everything that they need to report, that they understand how to do that. Because some of these places, like drug-free DeKalb County, they've not had a health department grant before. So they don't know really what we need as far as what range of ethnicities we need them to have listed and all that stuff. So we've strategically planned those meetings that are tentative dates right now, but that they would be coming right before something was due to us. So a midterm report or an end of year report or the RFP for next year, the request for proposal for next year when that comes out, so that we can help kind of technical assistance with them at those points so that they know what they're getting themselves into, especially next year when the money is higher. Because while we're giving $169,950, so $170,000 away this year, we might be doing 2.5 times that next year for 2025. So we're going to have a little bit more stipulations on them when we're giving them more money, because we're going to expect their numbers this year to go up next year.
You get to see some data to see what you're going to fund.
Right, and
Yeah.
what is needed. So if we have no money going into somewhere that we're not improving in, we probably need to shift some money into that area, out of that next number, that next big funding allotment from the state. Because it almost doubles in 2025. And it's amazing. Like I cannot tell you how I've worked in public health for a long time. We've never seen this kind of support in Indiana for public health.
Well, and all this data is going to drive funding again in the next biennium.
Well, and that's the
Budget,
other thing, yeah, is that and I've told a lot of our grantees, tell us what it is you need, regardless of whether you think we can fund it, because we're talking to the State Department of Health. I think we just talked about webinars this morning, 3-4 times a week. If we can say to them, it'd be great if you had a fund specifically for AEDs in the schools, since they might be requiring that next school year, not the 24-25, but the 25-26 school year. There's hinting that they're going to require every school within so many steps of children that they have AEDs in the school. Those are incredibly expensive. They're incredibly difficult to maintain if you don't have, the right staff to do that. So that's that. We know that we're going to kind of needle that in there to the state. Hey, the Department of Education is making them get AEDs. Is this something that you support? Is there another funding stream from the feds or somewhere else that could help support this? Because we can't, it doesn't meet our core services, but it certainly is something that we can kind of ask them to send more funding. Send more money this way. This is what we need in DeKalb County. Any questions about the specific programs that they have? Because they really did do a great job outlining what they were doing. So if any of it was too vague, I'd be happy to try and explain what they were asking for, the grantees or the sub-grantees.
Questions?
Thanks, well done. I have a good sense of the effort that went into getting from where we started.
Yeah.
Back when SB4 was passed to where we are now.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's
There was a lot of work.
Huge undertaking, yeah.
Yeah. And great support. We appreciate all the support that has been provided, because we couldn't do it without agreeable conversations and understanding where we're coming from. So I so appreciate.
Well, we certainly hope this helps.
Yeah.
We have some bad stats in Indiana.
Yeah, we do.
Been aware of that for some time.
Yeah.
And,
Too much bacon.
yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the presentation.
Sure, of course.
She touched on this just a little bit. Part of our job was to flesh out what was already happening in the county, and then partner with these people so that we can get their data, which Mary Claire mentioned that several times. But it's also so that, like during those meetings, all the partners will be together. So they're all going to be aware of all these different programs that are happening. But then also part of our work is to get that information out to the public. So it's like when we had several partners and chose certain amounts for each one. Of course, like she had mentioned, St. Martin's is getting paid a good portion of that. But the other ones were also important because we had to make sure every core service was covered, and that we are partnering with different people in the community so that we're broadening the availability of services to people in the long run. Does that make sense? So I really feel like we've done a good job in getting a hold of people, figuring out what people were doing. There was lots of things that we didn't know were already happening. And I'm continuing to get information that we will probably be able to incorporate in the next grant year. But just wanted to make sure that you knew that. Also, as far as, like you had mentioned, the additional funding for Children's First Center, this money is not intended to take away anything else they had. This money is a lot about programs they're already doing, but it's providing us with all their data. The data is our big responsibility. And the only way we can do that is to partner with them and get that information from them.
So when you say the data, I mean, we already give them 35,000. I would think they would want to share their data with us. We're already a partner with the county. And I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying we shouldn't fund them, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying we already are a partner with them. We have been for years. So I think we're entitled to data, you know, if that's what you're seeking. What we give them is up to you, that's fine. I want you to know we already have a big partnership with them, much more than you're giving them right now, so.
Would be good to get some reporting on how that part of it's being spent.
Yeah.
What it's
Yeah.
being used for.
Because I'm not sure they've ever really given us a report on how the money's spent.
I don't recall ever seeing one.
Whereas like Alliance Industries, we give the same amount. They invite us out, they show us around, they told us what they're gonna do with the money, expand the workshops.
Well, they are going to be giving us quite a bit of data. I guess the only fear that I have is if people see that they're going to lose funding from you, they're going to be hesitant with us in the future. I just want to be careful about it.
Well, I understand. The thing is, all this money comes from taxpayers, whether it comes from the state, the feds, or here. And I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And you're an expert in your field. You're saying this needs done. I'm going to dispute that. I'm just saying if we're already a partner with them, and I think we should have data regardless. And
I agree with that.
you know, we watch the checkbook. You decide, you're the one that says, hey, these need done, and we say, yes, I agree that needs done. However, this is the money we have, and we're already spending here. We're the ones with the taxpayers hammer on when they say, why are you spending all this money? See what I'm saying? So we just got to make sure that the money's being spent appropriately across the board. Taxpayers are getting the most bang for their buck. And sometimes, you know, the most bang for your buck is not spending money and give the money back to the taxpayers. And we need to, it's just, this is a lot happening all at once, and you've done a great job. Not saying I'm going to pull their funding, there's a lot to look at here.
And our budget's already set for '24, so
Yeah.
we can look at that again in July when we start talking.
Yeah, our
about it.
budget's already set, so it doesn't matter. It's just,
I think, as you mentioned, Cheryl, one of the real positives of this is, I've been around for a long time, the level of collaboration on this kind of thing. We're seeing the same thing with the Mental Health Collaborative as well, with all the providers working with the CMHC and everybody playing nicely in the sandbox, if you will. You know, I think it's a huge positive for all of us to see that kind of cooperation, collaboration, and leadership to pull all that together. So I commend you for all the hard work.
Thank you.
And welcome, Shannon.
yeah,
Is Shannon Schuman our new school liaison?
hiding in the back.
It's her first day.
All
and,
right. Welcome
thought we'd
aboard.
Just
First
bring
day.
her along.
Welcome to the jungle.
Yeah.
So on these MOUs, do you need the commissioners to formally approve them?
Yeah, we'd have to approve them the way I read them. Since they're MOUs, we'd have to approve them with a motion.
It's contract.
I think we should do them
So you just want them to sign under where it says DeKalb County Health Department? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So, question to you guys. Are you going to take these and look at them? Or are you wanting to do something today? Or are you wanting to see different?
I already read them, and I'm good with them.
Okay.
I mean, she's given us her budget, what she needs. The MOUs are what solidifies it.
Do you see any need for you? Have you looked them over? Or?
I looked over one of them, I'm assuming that they're all based on the same format, and I don't have a problem with them.
I do want to note that Cheryl actually has to sign the MOUs because their agreement is with Cheryl to report data and information to her. But we do need your approval to essentially release the funds to that category. So we want you all to approve that we're doing these MOUs.
Right.
And then Cheryl, as the executive director of the health department, would have to sign because it's just, since it's a memorandum of understanding, it's not a contract.
Right.
We want them to know who they're reporting to. So,
Are you good with that?
I think so, unless you have an issue with the State Board of Accounts. I think if they approve it
I-
here and
I-
approve the exact numbers, which they are, if they
I
vote on
think
it.
we would be fine because I will have
they're
the
okay.
motion in the minutes
Yeah.
for you guys, and then you'll sign those minutes.
I know there's been a discussion of who signs what contracts.
But I think since
but-
these are just MOUs, I think it's okay.
Okay.
And then notably, what the State Department of Health is looking for is, I think you've already approved the budget that has the 169,950, but they want a general line, not specific, this organization, this organization, this organization. Because if we go back to Parkview or somebody and they say, we can't do that for that amount of money, we want to be able to put that back into the health department's 169,950 to support maybe Children's First, or somebody could do another 10 people, or maybe St. Martin's, ends up having an increase of 30 patients per year because of this program. And we could support them with that slush of money that comes out at the end. Flex. I said I was going to say flex and not slush because it sounds weird, but that flex at the end, that could kind of move with where the needs are. Because a lot of times we get into these little mini grant MOUs and people can't do what they thought they could do. So we need to have that kind of autonomy to review if they don't get that first report in and they're not ever going to be able to make that number that they said 14 people or whatever, and they're only really going to get 7. We need to have kind of a conversation about what we fund, because we don't want to go over that $300 per person mark on any of them, because that would get us in trouble.
By the way, my comment with, I make sure you understand my Children's First comment. It's not that I want to cut their funding. I want to use more state
Right.
money to fund them. In other words, I'd love for us to just fund their child safety seat thing and their shaken baby thing 100%.
Yes.
And then say, now, the 35,000 we gave you, find someone else to fund that because we just took over this whole thing for you.
Right.
In other words, we will cover this whole thing with state money. That frees up our local money to spend somewhere else instead of giving them local money and state money and not enough for either.
Yeah, and
You
I
see
think
what I'm saying?
we hook them this year, and then in 2025, that
wanna-
might be where we
what-
go,
what
because
I'm
your
telling
budget's
you
through then
is,
already anyway, right?
I want you to put them on the elevator next year and
Yes.
say, listen, your child baby seat thing,
It's
we're
so
going to cover
impactful.
the whole thing. We're going to cover the shaken baby thing 100%. But you're going to lose this funding more than likely, but you're going to be so far ahead here
Right.
that that's just a way, it's good policy for the
Yes.
taxpayer. Instead of a little bit here and a little bit here, that's how taxes go up completely. You do 18 different taxes in a little bit. When it's one big tax, people look and go, hey, they can see it. But when it's just a bite here, here, and here, before you know it, you're taxed to death. And so, again, we're the watchers of the purse here.
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to do is get them to fund them efficiently to where they don't have to go look for money for baby seats and stuff because we have it covered. However, now you got to look for money here. So
Yeah, and I think it's because that wasn't information that we thought to consider, how much you're already funding them out of other money.
Right.
That might be something that we want to put on the docket for next year, is to know
That's
if they're
what I'm
already getting
asking for.
county money,
That's what I'm
then
asking.
what is that going towards and what are they reporting on for that? Because if they're already reporting on healthy families with that money, we
Right.
don't want to fund it in 2 different places.
Right.
But since they're not reporting for you now, maybe when you get to budget time next year, we can, before allocating the budget to them, say, this is the information that we need from you in addition.
Yes.
And it does take a lot of effort just to even pull the information as we want it. So it is kind of a tax on them. That's why they don't just give you all the information, because it's really hard to get exactly what it is that you need versus what the state needs, versus what the 4-county area needs as far as the information. So it is valuable to put that in the contract. We're giving you $35,000 just from the general fund, if you still were. And this is what we need from you. We need you to tell us how many full-time employees you have. We need you to tell us how many people you served in DeKalb County. We need to know if those people had improvements in their scores on the services that you provided for them. We need to know how many of those programs were evidence-based. So I think in going forward, it helps really shore up the whole process for funding for health-related items. So I think it's a great start, and it helps figure that out, because we would not have known
Yeah.
the 35,000.
Yeah, and it's a good start, like you said, and we get the data next year, we'll know what to do. But like I said, if we can completely fund some of their big programs out of this.
Yeah.
and then say, hey, go find some support somewhere else on that 35 we used to give you.
Yeah.
And it's a win-win for the taxpayer and them, because they
Yes.
only report one thing to us now. Hey, you covered
Right.
these items for us, here's our report.
Exactly.
Instead of us, well, you provide this item over here, and who knows if the money really went.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, and it's
saying,
not
you
very
know,
transparent. That's
yeah,
the whole thing.
It's
is
no
the whole
transparency, yeah.
The whole
exactly.
process of doing this through the state is to really make everything really
Yes.
transparent. We
And
can,
it should be.
everybody can apply, everybody can see what was decided,
Yeah.
everybody can see what those outcomes were, because the state will, and I think Cheryl touched on this, the state will take that data that we provide to them, and just like now, you can go and click on what the budget is for DeKalb County, you'll also be able to click on what the outcomes are for maternal and child health for DeKalb County. And you'll also be able to do that for every other county that's involved. So that's opted in. So that's another thing it's super transparent, helps just really put things even across this, like that, it's just there. It's like a scorecard. There's no debating it. And then you don't feel like you got jilted one way or another for like getting money from two different pots when it wasn't maybe what you intended. So I think it's a wonderful.
Great direction.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
good enough. An executive session in 2 minutes.
Oh, 11:30. I thought it was 11:45, yeah.
I don't know what Susan thinks about it, but it seems like you ought to still approve the individual categories. But I don't know. And then if they, but I don't know whether that's the right way to do it or not. I think they wanted you to just prove the overall $149,000 amount.
I was thinking we should approve the recommended awards
Yes.
that they've got and authorize Cheryl to sign the MOUs. I think
Yes.
that covers everything.
Yeah, I agree.
And
And if there's gonna be
I have
changes-
them listed as like Children's First, 15,250. Garrett
Yes.
Kaiser, like I have them all listed out.
Right.
I think those should be approved as,
Yeah,
listed.
no,
If you're going to approve them. That
I was just gonna approve them according to the chart they gave us.
That's fine.
The
with me,
recommended
yeah.
approval amount I'm good with, and the MOUs to be enacted or.
So the dollars linked with the group.
Yes, with MOU.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
So that'd be my motion, that we approve the recommended payouts that are tied to the individual MOUs to be entered into.
And authorize Cheryl.
Authorize Cheryl to disperse.
Okay, I'll second that.
A motion and second on the floor. Any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Motion carries. Carol can sign. Okay, we've got an executive session in about a minute. So we will
Thank you.
recess.
Good job. Looked like a lot of work to me.
Thanks. They did a lot of work.
Yeah, no, I'm saying everyone, good job. Good team. Thank you.
Okay, we are
Okay.
recessed.
Yeah. And then I got to get live to stop before we start the executive.
Yay, it's recess.
It'll just depend how long they